fellow Movie Crusaders, and welcome to our latest episode. My name is Sean Wasserkrug, and today we're going to be viewing one of my most anticipated films of 2022, Thor, Love and Thunder. Now for me, and I haven't really kept this hidden by anyone who's ever asked me, I was not the hugest fan of Thor Ragnarok. I mean, I thought it was fine. I mean, it was definitely better than the first two Thor films, but I had an issue with how Taika Waititi, who I love Taika. I had an issue with in Thor Ragnarok how he handled the humor over dramatic moments in Thor Ragnarok. There was a lot of parts that really he should have let the drama breathe and let the emotions carry in those scenes, but then basically saddled it to a joke or a Korg reference, which I really had issues with in that film. I enjoyed it for the most part, but I really had issues with it. Now, in that time, Taika, I feel, either A, I've gotten used to Taika's humor, or B, I think Taika's actually gotten better as a director personally, to the point where when I saw the previews for Thor, Love and Thunder, I got real excited. Now, granted, I was real excited because A, we were getting the return of Jane Foster, played by the always amazing Natalie Portman, and we were getting Gore the God Butcher, played by always awesome Christian Bale. So you add those elements, you also add the Guardians of the Galaxy in the film as well. The trailer looked great. And like I said, I only watched the first trailer because I tried my best not to watch anything past the first trailer for spoiler reasons. But I had a lot of anticipation going into this film, and I was actually pretty excited, ready to watch this in the theaters today. What I can say about the actual plot of the movie itself, without going too spoilery, is basically Thor enlists the help of Valkyrie, Korg, and ex-girlfriend Jane Foster to fight Gore the God Butcher, who intends to make the gods extinct. Yes, that's a generic, basic plot, but that's how IMDb posts it. I will be posting a spoiler review later this weekend with Brian Michaels. So I'm going to try my best to, A, talk very vaguely about what I want to talk about on this non-spoiler review, and also it'll probably be a rather quick one because I really want to talk about certain things I just can't talk about on here. Jumping right into the film, though. Is it better than Thor Ragnarok? Yes. In my opinion, I enjoyed this one better than Thor Ragnarok. I think, like I said, my problems with Thor Ragnarok was that I felt like Taika could not balance the drama and the moments that really should have let the dramatic acting of these actors shine through over comedy. I do think he does a way better job this time around. There's one particular storyline that happens in the film that I was really worried, and Brian also was really worried on how Taika was going to handle this, because we know Taika can do drama. We've seen him do drama in other films before, but we were really worried if he was going to let that drama shine through or if he was going to make a light of it and make a joke. And Taika actually does handle it probably one of the better ways he possibly could, given the film that we were seeing. So I give him kudos for that. There are some jokes and some certain plot choices, story choices, character choices that I wasn't in agreement with, or that got certain jokes that were not even funny the first time, but after the 8th time, it was just mind-numbingly painful. That aside, though, the cast, I have no qualms about the cast. Chris Hemsworth, he has embodied the Thor character, and adding the humor element to Thor, which he's always been funny, but I mean, he's finally kind of found, and he did this with Ragnarok and the, Infinity War and Endgame. Chris Hemsworth knows how to play Thor, and he plays Thor beautifully. Adding this element of Jane into the mix and everything that's going on, I think Chris Hemsworth did a fantastic job as Thor in the film. Natalie Portman returning as Jane Foster is fantastic. Her storyline was the main storyline that I cared about. When she is Lady Thor, it is fantastic. I love every element that they do with Natalie Portman in this film, and she is above and beyond, to me, the best part of the film. Also, Christian Bale as Gore. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this character because I love Christian Bale, but I didn't really know a lot about the Gore character. I loved pretty much everything that they did with the Gore character in this film. He's terrifying in ways that we have not seen in the MCU yet. I mean, outside of maybe what Wanda did in Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. But I loved his motivations. I loved the reasons why he did certain things. I loved his fighting style. I loved how he tried to get in everyone's heads. And of course, because of his character and how his power set works, The color palette in Thor: Love and Thunder is amazing. There is one particular fight in this movie, which is in the trailer, where it's kind of got a black and white setting with a little slash of color, and that scene is shot beautifully. It's one of my favorite shots of the film. I love how they incorporate color in this film, and I love the way basically the whole cast, for the most part, especially the main cast anyway, meaning Hemsworth, Portman, Bale, Taika as Korg, who's less annoying this time around, but he still has his moments where I really just wanted Korg to shut up. Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie. She's great as Valkyrie. I kind of wish they gave her a little more to do. She's in it quite a bit. Don't take me wrong. She's in it a good part of it. I just kind of felt that she also got sidelined at points when I felt like they should have really kind of dove in on her a little bit more. But Tessa Thompson does a great job as Valkyrie. Like I said, cast-wise, I don't hate any of the performances except for one main performance, which I hate to say that it's a main performance. They're not in the movie nearly as long as I expected them to be, but the way they're playing this character, it's setting up for something down the road in future films. So it's one of those things where I didn't like the performance right now, and I'm not going to say who it is because I'm not trying to spoil things. I didn't like the performance of this one character, but seeing where the character ends up by end of film, I am more okay with how it was based off of what we see at the end result of the movie. So it's an uneven performance for me overall. The Guardians, when they're in the movie, because they're really not in it nearly long enough as you think they're going to be in the film. I mean, they're the Guardians. If you love the Guardians of the Galaxy, you'll enjoy them in the brief, very, 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 very brief moment you get them in the film. Everyone else in the film, like I said, they're pretty much, small roles, except for, obviously, the big five, meaning Hemsworth, Portman, Thompson, Bale, and Waititi. Like I said, action-wise, everything looks great. The story, just like with Thor Ragnarok, I felt like there are certain story elements that I think he should have spent more time on, that really probably should have used a lot more attention, but he speeds through them or just kind of fast forwards and we miss that entire storyline altogether and we kind of see the end result, which were a lot of those story moments that I was actually interested in. I wanted to see where that story was going to go. I wanted to see how those building blocks came to be to get from point A to point Z where we were at one point. There are certain moments in the film where I was like, I'm interested to see where this goes. And then it cuts to a different scene, and then we go back, and it's like, oh, that's now, like, I don't know how much time has passed, but it's, screw it, we're gone, we're moving on. It was like I really wanted to see what we were going to do with that particular storyline. And for the first half of the film, a lot of that happens. It was the first 30 minutes felt very disjointed, much like Thor Ragnarok, where I felt like Taika is basically fast forwards through the first, outside of the intro, which kind of introduced you to the Gore character. I feel like he fast forwards through the Thor stuff until we get to the main plot or the main story point, which he did that in Thor Ragnarok as well. Everything was kind of fast forwarded through until they got to, basically Planet Hulk, and then the movie slowed down. Same thing goes with this one. I feel like the movie was on fast forward until we got to the main story of Jane, Thor, and Valkyrie going after Gore, the God Butcher. Once we did get that, the movie slows down, and I think it works a lot better that way. But that first, not the first 5 minutes of the movie, but after that, I feel like it just was all over the place, and it really needed to zone in and slow down and tell a better story. This movie clocks in just under 2 hours, and this is one of those movies that I would not have said no to an extra 30 minutes to let that story, or much of those story points, breathe a lot better, to have a more well-rounded story. Not that the story's bad, there's just moments that I felt like they should have focused a little more on personally. Like I said, a lot of these are personal nitpicks for me. I'm hearing good word of mouth from a lot of people who are watching it, that are really enjoying it. And like I said, I did enjoy the film overall. It's better than Thor Ragnarok in my opinion. The addition of Natalie Portman coming back as Jane and Christian Bale as Gore just heightens what is already great about the Thor character and the Thor mythos. There are certain elements, though, that just did not work for me. Certain character paths that happen throughout the film that I'm not necessarily on board with. Could that change on rewatch, or could that change based off of where we're going to future movies? Absolutely. But just coming out of the theater, there were just certain things where I was like, I don't really like where they're going with this character. I really don't like what they did with this one, or I wish they would have spent more time on this character. Nonetheless, though, in terms of an MCU film, if you love the Thor character, if you love any of these characters, or you want to see how Christian Bale does in the MCU, strong recommendation to check out Thor: Love and Thunder. I think most people are going to enjoy the film for the most part. If you're really kind of up your ass about reviews, or even very trying to find things to pick at when it comes to these kind of films, then I think you're going to find a lot of problems to attack. But if you just want to watch a fun Thor movie with amazing color, great action, and a solid performances from the main 5 characters, especially, like I said, Portman, Bale, and Hemsworth, then I think you're going to enjoy Thor: Love and Thunder for the most part. I'm going to give my score an 83%. Like I said, I recommend it if you're an MCU fan, but if you're an MCU fan, you're going to check it out anyway, so you're not going to care what I think. But nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys did, go and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up on the Movie Crusaders. And of course, you get to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, like I said, we will be having a spoiler review this weekend with me and Brian Michaels. We will go over everything Thor: Love and Thunder. We will go over every point that I wanted to say on this review that I just couldn't. Brian definitely loved the movie as well from what I hear, so he's going to have a lot of positive things that we will have to talk about on the spoiler review, and then I'll air out a lot of things that I really wanted to talk about that I couldn't on this one. But I hope you enjoyed the non-spoiler review, and check back later this weekend for the spoiler review with Brian and I as we go over everything. But go check out Thor: Love and Thunder. Also, last week we shot our 2002 half-year review where we went over all of our films in 2022. What was our best films, worst films, biggest surprises, biggest disappointments. Check out that video. And yeah, till next time, in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.